Hi guys, this is Joe Franco. I'm one of the solutions consultants here at Tenstreet. Thank you again, for everyone to taking out of the time, out of your busy day to learn a little bit more about Custom Report Wizard. I think it's one of our most underutilized tools. So again, really excited to give you that exposure and education. So again, we created this webinar to serve as an educational tool for new users or those who need a refresher on some of the capabilities, and for those clients who are considering adding Custom Report Wizard to their Tenstreet arsenal. In your quest for meaningful reporting, it's not always about finding out what happened last. It's about figuring out what needs to happen next. And that's the power of Custom Report Wizard. It gives you the control over your data, allowing you to build reports, create charts, review past performance, analyze trends, make predictions, and the possibilities are endless with all the data, because again, if you're absorbing that data into your database, you really want to mine it and be able to derive all these insights. So again, you can make smarter decisions going forward. So Custom Report Wizard, which we'll refer to from now on as CRW, gives you the leverage to run a report over any Tenstreet driver demographic, application metric, or custom tagging information that you like. Choose the columns you want to see, place filters on your results, and save your reports so you can see them on your homepage or under a reports tab to run anytime you want. Either way, you get to see the real-time data you need to know when you need it most. So let's go ahead and get started. And before we move any further, I do want to add that we do have our Director of Client Services, Kim Taken. You might have interacted with her. She oversees all of our account management team. So she's going to be on this call facilitating the webinar with me. So Kim, if you want to go on to the next slide, perfect. All right, in any report building software, creating the reports is a fun part, but the availability across the platform afterwards, it's really what matters. With CRW, you get the following report flexibility built into every report you build. Just looking for a quick answer to a question you have, find your answer in mere minutes by building one out on the fly. If you think you'll use it again, save it, and it will go live under the Reports tab, under Advanced Reports, to call upon at your leisure. And there's a reference screenshot as well. Things start to get really powerful after that, because you can actually start assigning out your reports to other users. And that's one of the main things, because when you log in, you have a team of 5 or 10, safety, compliance, recruiters. They're going to have, different insights that they want to be able to retrieve immediately when they log in. So again, they don't have the time to build it out themselves. And you can ensure everybody is looking at that same exact report for visibility. So it's total uniformity, making communication and problem solving across the team really easy. You can accomplish this in 2 different ways, or both. By making a report simply appear under your user's reporting tab, or simply check a box in the report wizard, assign the report to your user's homepage report so that it runs dynamically upon sign in or refresh. You can maximize this powerful functionality by creating homepage report sets, allowing you to assign a group of reports to users so your team sees what matters most to them. And you'll see how this works through a demo a little later on during this presentation. So Kim, we'll go to the next slide. All right, so the big picture. When you click the Report Wizard button to start the wizard, a new window or tab will open. You'll land in the Reports tab here. Again, there's a reference tab on the screen. We'll get to the Homepage Management tab later on, so just ignore that for now. At the top is where all the reporting attributes and other options are live. Even if you just plan to use the report once, a name, description, one assigned user, and at least one date filter will be required. The CRW provides tooltips along the way, so you don't have to remember this detail or others like it. So here are some report attributes. You'll see report name, report description, which should be different than the name, just a best practice. So again, you immediately know what that report is. All of the available users and assigned users. And within the report details section, you'll see a few different options to check the box. So for dashboard homepage and mobile app homepage, there are two check boxes we talked about earlier. Right up front, you can select if you would like this report to be reflected either on your homepage or that mobile app that we have, again, which is called Dashboard, and you can download that from the App Store or the Android store as well. And you can show summary on report. This is an option to show your data in aggregate. So if you're a visual person like I am, if you want to see a line graph, a pie chart, just to make things a little bit more visual, you can do that as well. When you run the report, the summary section will allow you to choose how you like the summary to present, your X and Y axis and summary type, sum, average, or percentage of total for rows and columns. The summary section, which you'll see later in the live demo in about 5 minutes, will also allow you to see the data in a graph view. You choose how you want to see it in a bar line, or pie chart like I said earlier. You can even flip the X and Y axis in one click. These are all attributes you can assign at report creation or are available as runtime variables, meaning you can change them each time you run the report. Then you have report options on the top left. If you wish to modify an existing report, use the select report dropdown to select the report you wish to modify. You can always change your mind and click new to get a blank canvas. When you have an existing report pulled up, however, you can save the report, delete the report, and duplicate buttons as well. All right, we'll go to the next slide, Kim. Perfect. So moving down, you'll see a place for report filters and report columns. Again, there's a reference screenshot. Report filters are fields you can use to narrow down the data. However you want to stratify it, bifurcate it, those are just really fancy words to get the data that you need. So you only get results on the data you're interested in. Report columns are the fields that you wish to see as column headers. In other words, how the report will visually present the data to you. At the bottom of each field, you will see a magnifying glass, a plus sign, or both. These indicate whether or not the field is available as a report filter or a report column, respectively. Filters are magnifying glasses, and plus signs indicate that you want to add it as a column. You click on the appropriate symbol, and the wizard will pull in the field as you've indicated. Down the left-hand side, you'll see all the categories from which you can choose. Click on any of these for a listing of all the fields available within each category. For example, here is just a partial list of the fields available under license info. Again, there's a screenshot there for you guys to see that. All right, so next slide, Kim. Perfect. So that's our high-level view. So the way that we've divided this presentation is in two parts. First, a walkthrough, and then an actual demonstration of what we walked through, facilitated by, again, our fabulous client service director, Kim. This way, we can have a chance to clearly talk about how to procedurally go about building a new report, and then we'll have the chance to see it put into action. All right, here we go. So how to build a custom report using the wizard in just 5 easy steps. The first step might sound silly, but this part is key, and if anything, probably the most critical. A common mistake people often make is to open the report wizard, start clicking on fields sporadically, adding filters and columns, and then are left confused by the report they've created. And that's really what results in a lot of people feeling overwhelmed about how to go about this. So save yourself the time, suck, by taking a few seconds to really evaluate and think about the report you want by putting it into the form of a question. It will save you a ton of time in the end and make your final report much cleaner. One of the more popular reporting focuses for our clients centers around orientation data. So we're going to create an orientation report as our example. So let's first think of the question we're trying to answer. Suppose that we want to ask, what experience levels do our drivers who attend orientation most often possess when we hire them? A secondary question you also want to answer might be, and how do the numbers compare across locations for this month? Are we, do we have more individual scheduled orientation at certain locations? Are there, is there a huge range of the experience? So again, other questions you might want to know. All right, Kim, let's go to the next slide and let's start adding some filters. Thank you. So the filters or parameters you'll need can then be easily found in the question. For the question, for example, What experience levels do our drivers who attend orientation most often possess when we hire them? And how do the numbers compare across locations for this month? Well, what we would do is choose the work list. Assuming our work lists are based on experience level, maybe the status, orientation location, and orientation date, for example. And again, that's going to filter it out, so we're looking at the data that we are specifically interested in. All right, Kim, let's go ahead and add some columns here. So now it's getting easier. Here you would just add the column headers or the fields you want to see represented in your report. For example, for our orientation question, choosing subject name, work list, orientation date, orientation location, and recruiter would work to create an orientation subjects by experience by location report full of meaningful, insightful detail. As we build out a report, you'll notice a sample viewing of the report building in the wizard below. This helps serve as a visual guide to help. For example, all right, now let's go ahead and create the summary, Kim. Once we have our columns into place, we then have the option to add a summary. Simply check the box, create summary, and you'll be able to choose which rows and columns you'd like to count, average, or calculate a percentage of the total. For a question, we might choose to see the data presented with the row for each experience level, and a column counting the total number of subjects in your orientation at each location for each experience level row. Remember, these can be set as defaults in the report wizard with the option of changing them, when you run the report. Finally, after you run the report, you can click Detach View if your report is rather large and would benefit from the extra real estate the full screen view offers. Select Export too in order to print, export, or create a PDF. So I know a lot of you guys have weekly recruiting meetings. Management is looking at specific metrics. So this is a great way to have that data instantaneously ready that morning and just go ahead and create a PDF and present it to your respective management, for example. So next slide, and now for the fun part. Let the power of the graph help you easily organize your data to find trends and meaningful takeaways. All you have to do is decide whether the results will be best displayed in a pie, bar, or line graph, like I said. All right, Kim, let's go to the next slide. Now let's go ahead and talk about the homepage management. So we're going to see the steps demonstrated in just a minute, like I said. So before we move into the live demo, let's go back to the powerful and popular homepage management tab that we mentioned in the beginning of this presentation. So we wanted to save this until the end because this is where you'll go after you create your report to manage your users' homepages and assign report sets. From this tab, you can create new sets or edit existing sets and assign users to the sets you create. When everybody's looking at the same dynamic reports every day, communication will improve and you will see immediate improvements in the way your company does business. Homepage reports are dynamic and update in real time with a refresh or upon sign-in. Now, I do want to preface, there is a 15-minute delay because, again, what the system is doing, it's constantly refreshing, it's running the data, so there is a little bit of a buffer, but other than that, it's almost real time. Now, if you want it quicker, you can always run this report ad hoc as well. And many allow users to do work by interacting directly with the report. So to create a new set, you would click on the New button and name your set. So there's a screenshot there, Attention Needed Set. From your available report section, you can pull any report you create into the assigned report section, thus creating a set. Simply click the arrow buttons between the two. Also, you can control in what order your users see the reports using the up and down arrows on the right side of the Assign Reports box. And that way you have flexibility and control, creative control in how you want the layout presented. So if there are certain reports that take higher priority and urgency, go ahead and move this to the top so it's the first thing that either recruiters, safety, or management sees, for example. So finally, assign users to each set. Click Save Set, and boom, all reports are instantly pushed onto the user's homepage. Again, editing sets later on is super simple. You can always go back, make any changes, and the changes happen immediately on your dashboard. All right, so I know many of you are probably wanting to see a demonstration, so let's see this in action. And after we're done, we'll return here for a Q&A session and address any questions you guys may have, any misconceptions, or just anything in general concerning our report wizard. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Kim, who's going to give you a walkthrough on one example.
So what we did was we created a partial report, and Joe, I want to make sure you can see my screen okay before we get too far into it. We created a sample orientation report just to give you an idea of, a sample that we could work from. So in this example, our report filter is the orientation date. So that would be pulling information from a tag in the tagging area. And then we set up columns in the report for first name, last name, recruiter, orientation date, orientation location, these are both tags, and attended orientation, and that is also a tag. Of course, the first name and last name are going to pull from the subject record, personal information section, and then the recruiter from the subject view area. So it's really easy to add additional information to a report. For instance, if you wanted to add some additional tags, you could come down to the tag info area and scroll down the page, and you could see other tags that you might want to add to a report. And by clicking on the plus sign, that moves it over into a report column. And let's say a referrer code. If I wanted to add referrer code, once I clicked on that plus, it pops over and it shows up as a column in the report. If I change my mind and I don't want the referrer in the report, then I can click on the minus sign and it removes it from the report. Anytime you see the magnifying glass in the box, that means you can add that item as a filter in the report filters up top. So if I wanted to look at people that attended and only look at people that said yes, then I could add the attending or attended orientation. Click on that little magnifying glass and it creates the filter. And then when I look below, I could say, okay, I only want to see people that attended yes. And it gives you some ideas for the dates if you wanted to have a homepage report that looked maybe a month back at people that attended orientation, or maybe a week back. You have those options as well as options going forward. So if you wanted to look back 1 month and forward 1 month, then you have those options as well. So it's really quick and easy to add information, to remove information, and of course, as Joe mentioned, you always have the ability to come in and edit any report at any time to add or remove information. Up here with this available users, which Joe talked about, you have the ability to assign a particular report that you built to a user or a group of users by selecting their name. Once you select the name, it moves over to the assigned user column, and then that person would have the ability to view the report. In this instance, we created this to be a homepage report. So we wanted to check mark the dashboard homepage report option so it would show up on a home page when certain users are logged into the system viewing their home page. So up at the top here we have a homepage management screen where you can create report sets. So if you wanted a certain user to have a particular report set or a group of users to have the same report set, you can create your own report set name. And then you can choose from the list of all the available reports which particular reports you want to create in your set. And it's the same sort of theory where you're clicking on a report from the left, moving it to the right, and then once it's assigned in the set, you have the ability to select where you want that report to show up on the screen. So of course, things that are listed at the top would show up on the homepage report first, so you'd be reviewing the orientation report first, then application sources, then recruiter assigned to as you're scrolling down your homepage list. And you can use these up and down arrows to control the sorting of which reports show up in which order. Down below in the user section, you have the ability to give a report set to a user or remove a set from a user. Again, same theory applies. Once you have your available list of users, you select the user's name, it'll move it over to the right. And then once you save the set at the bottom, anybody selected in this box as assigned users would see this set of reports, which is called this name. So it's pretty simple. It takes a little bit to get used to. You know, you have to get in there and play around with it, but it's super fast to kind of create these things, and you can have sets, different sets for different groups of people. So, you know, maybe instead of this being my homepage report, maybe this is the safety set. Maybe there's a recruiting set, and the safety set, of course, would be assigned to the people in the safety department, the recruiter set to the recruiters. You know, you can have a management set that managers are seeing a whole different grouping of reports. So there's a lot of flexibility in here to go in and out, create reports, edit reports, make them homepage reports, or just reports that show up in your reports tab. Joe, am I forgetting anything in here?
No, I think you covered a lot of it and very thorough. You know, the other thing that I would mention is it's a very dynamic tool. And yes, there is an initial, you know, investment in terms of time, but again, you know, it'll pay dividends if you can give, you know, these statistics and data to all of the individuals immediately when they log in. And as I said throughout the webinar, it just creates a lot more visibility, transparency, better communication, and everyone is in sync with a lot of the goals, you know, the overall objectives of your organization, you know, for example. Now, I know that I said we're going to go into a Q&A, but I actually do want to highlight one more item before we go into that Q&A. So go ahead and hold your questions. There is one other tool that we recently came out with. So for those who have Customer Report Wizard, this is an enhancement we've made, and it comes included with the Customer Report Wizard as well. It's called the Reconnect tool. So let me go ahead. I'm going to change screens for a second, Kim.
Okay.
So I can walk through this. All right. Kim, is my screen showing?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So again, it's called the Reconnect tool. Now, it's exactly what it sounds like. Let's say a driver comes through my pipeline. Well, maybe they weren't qualified. Maybe they weren't interested. Now, you've always had the capabilities of either creating a report, just as Kim demonstrated, or doing a search, you know, based on, you know, either the status or a tag. However, we've made it easier. We've designed an application that's available within the Focus tab where you'll be able to see a complete listing of all the individuals you want to reconnect with. So, for example, Joe Franco comes in. Let's say that he wasn't qualified because, let's say that he was 1 month short of experience per my guidelines. So some of this information is already pre-filled since I did this earlier, but let's just run through it. So reconnect reason. Well, I want to reconnect because, again, they were 1 month short. They're going to be qualified at that in a month from now, and I want to call them. So I'm going to write that. And then for not qualified reason, again, work history, and I want to reconnect with them, let's say a month from now. So let's go ahead, February 25th. Well, that's a Sunday, so maybe let's do that Friday. All right. So then, within the Focus tab, you're going to see the Reconnect tool. So here, you can go ahead and change the parameters so you can see an immediate snapshot for the date. So by day, by week, by month, however you want it. I'm just going to expand this range all the way to the end of February, just so you can see my name pop up. I'm going to change the date range. So again, you have one clean listing of all the individuals that you want to reconnect with. You can see the date, again, some of the details that we've already populated, their phone number. From here, you can text them, you can email them. Once you're done, you can remove them from this view. But by the way, you have one dynamic listing. So imagine you as a recruiter, you just go through the list, you know, every single day and just boom, 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 boom. And again, you can message them from here. And I know if you already haven't seen the enhancement, you can say quick messages for the text. So it gives you a lot more speed and efficiency. Now, if you want to supplement this with other capabilities, and maybe you want to go ahead and increase the number of methods or the number of touch points with that individual, you can absolutely do that. So a lot of my clients, what they'll do is, the Reconnected will be a trigger for a drip marketing campaign, whether that's a series of emails, a series of texts, or a combination. But that way, there's different touch points happening. So while the system is doing some of the back-end work, automatically sending out those messages to really nurture and engage the driver, you can also, again, complement that with phone calls. But again, you're attacking it via different pathways to, again, try to get that driver to re-engage with you, because sometimes it's timing. The more frequency, the volume, the more that you are connecting with them. So again, this comes included if you have a customer report wizard. And if you haven't installed it yet, please reach out to your respective advisor or account manager to go ahead and get this set up. And again, what you can also do is you can restrict it if you want it available to certain users. You can absolutely do that, and I'll show you how that is. So here you can also change the order of some of these applications. But within here, once you click on users, same thing, you can give certain users just like we showed you on the custom report wizard. So this is something we had a request, so that's why we made it a little bit more dynamic with the integrations, with the texting, the email. It'll open up your Outlook, for example, or you can click on it, it'll take you directly to the profile. So again, just wanted to highlight that Reconnect tool because it is one of my favorite applications that we've come out with in the last few months. And again, just to give you as much ammunition to be able to be as responsive to your drivers. So again, that was a Reconnect tool. So with that said, we'd love to go ahead and open it up to some questions. So if you guys want to go ahead and take some time to send some over, I see a few coming in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and change this back to you, Kim, as well. All right, there we go. Okay. So let's take our first question here. All right, the question is, currently users can create reports in which the date a tag is last updated is included as a possible data column. Are there any plans or discussions to include the username of the user that edited the tag? So I'm going to go ahead and defer that question to Kim. Have you come across this, Kim, in the past?
No, I haven't come across this. As far as I know, it hasn't come up, and I haven't heard that there's anything in the works to do anything like that at this time.
Okay, so right now, I guess, from reading the question, the objective is, I want to go ahead and see if there's an electronic trail of any, kind of a change log, essentially. So that's something we don't currently have. Again, we haven't encountered that in the majority, but that is something we can definitely incorporate as a potential enhancement in the future. Now, we do have the abilities, and Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, where we can make certain tags edit only, so certain users don't have the ability to make any edits. Is that correct, Kim?
Yeah, that's correct.
Perfect. All right, next question here. You showed two columns, orientation date and for attended orientation. Are both of these tags that we will need to request in order to use? So that was just an example. It all depends on the tags that you have. And I love tagging because the more tags that you have, the more reporting and the more insights that you can derive. So what I always tell my clients when they're initially onboarding, I say take some time and really create the foundation. What are some reports that we're going to want to do? What are some searches that we're going to want to do in the future? Now, you can always go ahead and add tags in the future as well, but do keep them organized. Make sure that every tag, there's a line division of what each tag is fulfilling. And the other thing that I also want to highlight is we can do some cool things with the application. Your Intellia is not static. It's very dynamic, just like you can have specific routing rules that you probably do today. We can also convert some of those tags, we can convert some of those questions, some of those answers into automatic tags. So that minimizes and reduces the manual inputs of you having to type that in yourself. So again, we can transfer some of that information from the application into the tag section as well. Next question here, is this tool an additional cost? My reports only show driver qualification file missing data. So there is an additional cost for the custom report wizard. And the reason we've carved it out is, again, some individuals, some companies only want, kind of the core functionality, and they may add this later on, but that way, there's more flexibility, with it. So that's why we sometimes carve it out as a standalone service. That way, if it's something, relevant to you, you can go ahead and add in later. Again, this is something that I would absolutely recommend. If this is something you are interested in, I will go ahead and defer you to your respective advisor or account manager to get some pricing on that as well. All right. Next question. Can I do a search for all of the leads who have been placed in a specific status in a date range no matter when they applied? So I'm going to go ahead and defer this question to Kim.
I'm trying to think if there's a status change date option. There's original app date, last app date, of course, any of your tagging dates you can use. I don't think that there is I don't think we can do that through the report wizard.
So we can definitely circle back on that question to see, because I foresee that there is kind of a happy medium. So we'll go ahead and again reach out to you specifically for that answer. Okay. Next question: is the Reconnect tool part of Report Wizard, or is the Reconnect tool a separate feature? Can you please clarify? So the Reconnect tool, we went ahead and pushed it out as an enhancement as part of the Report Wizard. Now it can be subscribed to this as a standalone service. So, for example, if you don't need all the reporting, all the flexibility that the Report Wizard offers, you can go ahead and subscribe to the Reconnect tool as a standalone service, for example. How do we create tags? That's a great question. So there are some tags that are default, which again, we see a lot of commonality across the board. So the way that you create tags, you would go ahead and reach out to your account manager and let them know what tags you want to see in your dashboard, and also the sequence, the element of how they come across in your dashboard as well. All right. If I wanted to create a report for the hiring managers, do I need to create a different report for each user, or will they automatically see only the applicants assigned to them? So I'm going to go ahead and defer this question to Kim.
Sorry, I was reading something else. Let me get back to the question here. I was looking ahead. Bad me. Okay, I wanted to create a report for the hiring managers. I guess it depends on how your system's structured as far as your viewing access for your hiring managers and what they're responsible for if they have work list restrictions. So what I would suggest is talking to your account manager about the best way to structure that. Since I don't have a understanding of how your dashboard's set up and what your user permissions are, but certainly there's ways to get to that information, but your account manager would have the best way to get you there.
Yeah, and I see a lot of different user case scenarios for this. Where the recruiting efforts are kind of centralized, but again they push us out to the terminal managers to do the ultimate hiring. So what will happen in those user case scenarios is the terminal manager will only see what they're responsible for, but that also allows recruiting to see on a total aggregate basis, where they are in terms of numbers. So for example, if one terminal is performing better than the others, they might reallocate forces, might funnel more applications to them. So again, another benefit of having the flexibility to customize a report wizard to be in front of those statistics, for example. All right, on the summary, there are some fields that will not appear in the drop-down to summarize. Is there a way to summarize by these fields? Example, date of last status change. So again, I'm going to go and defer this to Kim.
I'm trying to think of, well, we were going to look into the option of the status change date and whether that was a field or not. I'm trying to think of where the summary fields, let me see. Without knowing right off the top of my head if there's a status change date option, it's hard to say if we have a place to do the summary. So I will follow back around with you on that one as well, and then that'll get us a better idea once I know if the field exists.
Perfect. Okay. So how does the Reconnect tool differ from reminders? That's a great question. So there's definitely going to be some overlap. So let's say you add a reminder, you'll go ahead, write out the note, specify the date, it'll pop up in your reminders. There is going to be some overlap, like I said, but the Reconnect tool is a lot more dynamic because when you go ahead and log into the Focus tab, you'll see, the full view. Not only will you see some notes, you'll see, what status they're in, for example. You'll also be able to text them from there. You can email them. So there's a few other features, again, just to give you that speed, because sometimes you may not want to click on every, application, but you have this insight for you as well. How is the Reconnect tool better than the drip campaign? So it's not necessarily that one's better than the other. Again, the Reconnect tool is just another way to view your data. So a lot of my clients will use them complementary, meaning that they'll still go ahead and roll out the drip campaign, and the Reconnect date will be the trigger. But that way, while the drip is rolling out, all the messages are going out, you do have a call to action to either re-engage them, with an application, but, texting them or, sending them or giving them a phone call, you just want to maximize the touch points and the frequency. So again, it is a user preference. So if you're using the drip campaign, the Reconnect tool, it's not a must. I personally just like it because I like having that view. And again, it can be stratified on a by user basis as well. All right, I think this is our last question here. Is there a way to see the last date that notes were made on the file as part of the report? So I will go ahead and defer that to Kim.
There is not a way to do that today. Going back to the status option, though, I did ask somebody to take a look real quick since I couldn't switch over, and there is a option for the date status was last updated. That is one of the filtering options that you can assign to a report.
Perfect. And again, we'll take some of this feedback, and we're always making enhancements. As long as there's value and it makes sense, we're more than happy to accommodate some of these changes. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for, again, taking the time out of your busy afternoon to learn a little bit more about the Custom Report Wizard. We're always here for support for any questions, so always feel free to reach out. With that said, you guys have a great afternoon, and thank you so much, Kim, for helping facilitate this webinar as well.
No problem. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a great day, guys. Bye.